Good evening. My name is Patricia Devine, and I am a member of the Worship and Music Committee. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Welcome to our virtual Christmas Eve service with the First Parish Plymouth congregation. This service is being filmed and will be posted on our Facebook page and on YouTube. Our service is entitled Christmas Wonders and is presented by our minister, Reverend Art Lavoie. He is assisted by Deb Keller Wood, the Director of Spiritual Development. The musical portion of our service is led by our music director, Sandy Hammond, and is joined by many talented musicians, including Karen Cruz, Aaron Finnegan, Emily Browder Melville, Jim Gordon, Sarah Stackhouse, and Susie Ryan Cartrine. Linda Harding is our technical wizard, without whom the service would not be seen. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever you believe, wherever you are on your journey, come walk with us this hour. Let us walk together this hour.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Reverend Arthur Lavoie. I am honored to be with you tonight for this service celebrating Christmas Eve. We are, of course, doing this on Zoom because our meeting house is under construction, and everyone that might want to attend would not fit into the chapel. So for the third year in a row, even though that is challenging for us not to be meeting in person, this is a wonderful opportunity, especially for those who are homebound and might not be able to join us in person. So I want to welcome everyone here. I want to welcome those who are watching online. Our Christmas offering this year is being collected for the Ministers' Help Fund, the fund that I use to help folks in the congregation and community who are in need of some financial assistance. There will be a slide that will show up on your screen later in the service that can link to our PayPal account, or you can send a check to the office at First Parish Church, 12 Parish Street, if you would like to contribute to that fund this evening. For those who, there will also be a service tomorrow morning, but it will be very similar to this evening's service. So I'm not expecting people to do both, except for me and Sandy, who are doing that. So once again, thank you all for being here. Please do, on your upper right-hand corner of your Zoom screen, you'll find a block that says view, and if you do side-by-side speaker, you will see the service more clearly, and not that would be the best way to view the service. Again, thank you and welcome.
Call to worship this evening is from Matthew 2, 1-2. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him."
Our first carol is "O Come All Ye Faithful." If you like, you can join Sandy in singing at home, and you are muted so that you won't be heard by everyone. Please join me in reciting the words to our chalice lighting. I have a chalice lit over my left shoulder here. And the words are on your screen. Love is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our first reading this evening is entitled, "We Stand with Eyes Toward the East" by Edward Erickson. We stand with eyes toward the east, awaiting the rising of the star, and pray that love shall become flesh and dwell among us, and that compassion shall be born in human hearts. We celebrate discovery of fact in the garment of legend. Then Christmas is with us always, and every birth is the birth of God among us, and every child is the Christ child, and every song is the song of angels. To celebrate Christmas is to attest the power of love, remake humankind. May we be renewed in the love which can save the world. Our anthem will now begin, O Holy Night.
The story of Hoshmakatu. Hoshmakatu, Hoshmakatu! It was the voice of the wind as it changed direction and sailed over the dunes of sand. Hoshmakatu, Hoshmakatu! But Hoshmakatu, the old camel, was asleep in the desert night. He dreamed of oases, of pools and wells, of desert springs and enormous camel-sized canteens. But the voices of the desert night wind were not interested in Hoshmakatu's dreams. Hoshmakatu, Hoshmakatu, you have been chosen. Great things depend on you. Your strength and courage are needed this very night. Hoshmakatu! Oh, for crying out loud, you blasted camel, wake up! Hoshmakatu peeled back one eyelid from his slumber.
Why should I wake up?
He grumbled. You have been chosen to make the journey to Bethlehem. In that great city, something beautiful and wondrous awaits. You will carry the gifts.
Why me?
Whined the old camel as he opened both eyes.
What have I done to upset anyone?
There is great need. The wise men, they have gifts to offer a newborn child.
Child? Wise men? Is this some kind of joke?
No, it is no joke. The wise men need your help.
Oh yeah, if these guys are so wise, don't they know about my joints, my gout, my sciatica?
The wind shifted unnecessarily and uneasily back and forth. Hoshmakatu felt a shiver run down his hump. He had lived in the desert for nearly 40 years. The wind had never talked to him like this before.
I don't know. See, I would, except I have so many other commitments. There's a water drinking competition in Rangal. I've been training for that. And then I promised I would make an appearance at the cud chewing convention in Beamish.
A sudden torrent of wind cut off his voice. Sheets of sand flew high in the air. It whistled round and round, almost forcing Hoshmakatu to stand upright or be blown over. For an instant, his hooves could not even touch the ground. Such an experience had been very unnerving. Hoshmakatu felt it unsafe to continue in his defiance.
Ugh, when do I start?
He asked carefully. Today, the voice returned. With that, the sand voices disappeared, and it was morning. It was still early as the servants of the wise men began placing their precious gifts of frankincense, myrrh, and gold onto Hoshmakatu's back. Nearby, a small herd of sheep noticed what was happening and came over to watch. They had heard the stories from the shepherds about the wise men who had come to town. Was this the camel who would carry the gifts of thanks and praise? From out of the crowd, a sheep, the smallest among them, was nudged forward. Mr. Camel, sir? Excuse me, Mr. Camel? Hoshmakatu turned his head. Mr. Camel, sir, we heard you were the camel chosen to carry the gifts to Bethlehem.
Yeah, that's right. I guess I'm the lucky one.
You must be the wisest and strongest of all the camels. Hoshmakatu suddenly felt his chest puff up. His head raised up into the air. On account of your being so old, the sheep said. Hoshmakatu's head dropped back down again.
I I am very special.
Hoshmakatu insisted, feeling a twinge in his back as they loaded another package.
And I'm not so old.
He said as his sciatica kicked in and forced him to lean starboard.
I can still carry as much as 10 horses.
He boasted as his ankles began wobbling a little. Inside, Hoshmakatu felt a little weak and unsure, but he tried mightily to hide it. He didn't want the lamb to think he was just an ordinary old worn-out camel.
That is why I have been chosen to carry the gifts of the Magi.
My name is Humbug, said the lamb. Bah, Humbug. Can I come with you, Mr. Camel, sir? I won't be any bother, and I'd really like to say that I walked with the camel that carried the gifts of the Magi. Hoshmakatu had no use of a lamb. She could not help him carry anything. But something about her was appealing. Her innocence was refreshing. And if they really did make it all the way to Bethlehem, it would be nice to have somebody else along who could boast about his accomplishments to all the others.
Humbug, I am an old camel. And I'm too old to start being nice now. I can't imagine what it is that makes you want to go, but if you promise not to be any trouble.
Hoshmakatu stopped, gave Humbug a stern camel look before continuing.
You may walk beside me if you wish.
And that is how the long journey began.
Please join us in singing O Little Town of Bethlehem.
Sleep, the
Hoshmakatu and Humbug walked from morning till noon across the desert sand. It was hot. The old camel felt a little weary. His joints ached and his hump was killing him. But he seemed to be holding up. The little lamb, on the other hand, started to stagger a little.
Hey, kid, you okay?
Hoshmakatu asked the lamb. Huh? Who, me? Never better. Maybe a little thirsty. Hoshmakatu raised an eyebrow, knowing there was no water with them. He thought this idea of a sidekick might have been a bad idea after all. Camels are used to going without water, but lambs? But even as the old camel moaned to himself, Humbug beamed with amazement and pride with all the gifts that were mounted on the old camel's back. You are indeed the strongest camel who ever lived. I knew you could do it. Others may have doubted you. Indeed, you may have doubted yourself, but I knew you could do it. As Hoshmakatu gazed into the young lamb's eyes, he felt a strength that had belied everything his old body was telling him. He looked out toward the desert and the miles he had to go. He took a deep breath and stepped towards the horizon. One step at a time, Hoshmakatu and Humbug began the slow march to Bethlehem. The next few hours of the journey were arduous and painful, but the old camel made his way silently, careful not to stop for fear that he could not begin again. Humbug walked beside him. Although she frequently fell behind from thirst and fatigue, she tried as best she could to keep up. Hoshmakatu, as well, often found himself taking slower, smaller steps. But the compromise in the old camel's pace seemed more likely the work of compassion rather than exhaustion. As the sun sank over the edge of the desert, a lonely silhouette of a figure traced over the sand towards the travelers. "Excuse me," a small shepherd called to them. "Excuse me, sir," the shepherd shouted.
What is it?
Huffed the old camel. Your lamb has fallen. I think she's ill." Hoshmakatu turned and saw that Humbug was laying on her side. "Humbug!" cried the camel as he stepped over to where the shepherd knelt over him. "She needs attention. It would be best for her to go to Bethlehem, where there are shepherds and more knowledgeable people than I. But it doesn't look like she can walk anymore."
I will carry her.
But Humbug protested weakly.
You cannot fight against my will, little lamb. Have you not figured out by this time that I am the strongest camel in the world? Climb on my neck, and I will get you to Bethlehem.
The shepherd helped Humbug climb onto the gift-bearing camel. It took every ounce of strength left in the old camel's body to stand again. He ached, and his cries filled the desert night as he struggled to take his first step. His joints burned with pain. His back felt as if it would shatter with every movement. Nevertheless, for the first time since his journey began, Hoshmakatu had no doubts about where he was going or what he must do. "Hoshmakatu," came the voice from behind the old camel's ear.
Yes, my friend.
"You didn't need to take me with you. I would have been all right."
Maybe, maybe not. But I needed to take you just the same.
"Why is that?"
Well, because I could. and because, I don't know, I just needed to.
There was a few moments of silence. It's beautiful, isn't it?
What?
As if by instinct, Hoshmakatu raised his head. There in the sky, just above the horizon, was the brightest star he had ever seen. It was nearly blinding to look at. It sparkled and gleamed and brought light to the whole sky. Just below the star stood the small town of Bethlehem. So directly in its line, one could have sworn the star itself were charting the course.
Oh my, I have never seen anything like that. Please join us in singing We Three Kings of Orient Are.
We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar. Field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through the perfect night. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns the deity nigh. Prayer and praising all are raising, worship God most high. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through the perfect night. Myrrh is mine, its better perfume breathes a life of gathering bloom. Sorrowing, sighing, bleeding, dying, sealed in constant tomb. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night. Born a babe on Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again. Love forever ceasing, never in our hearts to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night.
Hoshmakatu did not know from where his strength was coming. But at that point, he no longer doubted their arrival. It was simply a matter of time. Indeed, the whole journey seemed like it was a matter of time. Hadn't he waited his whole life for something this worthy to take him somewhere so important? Across the last few dunes, the old camel carried his load. His back and legs ached. He could scarcely summon enough water from his body to scrape together one more swallow. The star continued to make everything nearly as bright as day. Hoshmakatu saw people and animals gathered in the hay outside a small inn. As he walked towards them, the people and animals stared in amazement at the load of gifts he had carried. Exhausted, he knelt before a woman and her child. And as everyone began giving the gifts the old camel had brought, Hoshmakatu placed his weary head next to the baby and breathed a sigh of relief. Hoshmakatu's eyes closed even before his chin came down to rest on a soft pile of hay next to the child. A hand reached out and patted his forehead. It was the small hand of the child. Thank you, Hoshmakatu, for bringing all these gifts. I know it was a great burden to you. Hoshmakatu opened his eyes. There, in the straw, just in front of his mother's lap, lay the child. A few feet away, next to the mother and child, lay Humbug, fast asleep.
We made it, my friend. Now the shepherds will care for you, and you will be well.
It was then that the little lamb opened her eyes. Without any words spoken, the old camel heard again the voice which had guided him to the manger. I told you I would be all right, Hoshmakatu, but you were right. You had to take me with you. Though you may not be able to say why, you had to carry me. It was for you, not for me. And with a rustling of hay, the desert wind kicked up another familiar voice. It was for you that you took this journey, so that you might know care and compassion.
What child is this who lay to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping? Whom angels greet with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping.
This reading is entitled Camels Speak by Reverend Lynn Ungar. Of course, they never consulted us. They were wise men, kings and stargazers, and we merely transportation. They simply loaded us with gifts and turned us toward the star. I ask you, when would a king know about choosing presents for a child? Had they ever even seen a baby born to such simple folk, so naked of pretension and so open to the wind? What would such a child care for perfumes and gold? Far better to have asked one born in the desert, tested by wind and sand. We saw what he would need, the gift of perseverance, continuing on the hard way, making do with what there is, living on what you have inside, the gift of holding up under a burden, of lifting another with grace, of kneeling to accept the weight of what you must bear. Our footsteps could have rocked him with the rhythms of the road, shown him comfort in a harsh land, the dignity of continually moving forward. But the wise men were not wise enough to ask. They simply left their trinkets and admired the rustic view. Before you knew it, we returned again toward home, carrying men only half willing to be amazed. Never mind, we saw the baby, felt him reach for the tassels of our gear. We desert amblers have our way of seeing what you chatterers might not. That child at heart knows something about following a star. Our gifts are given, have no doubt. His life will bear the print of who we are.
By
So there I was, attending a Unitarian Universalist minister's convocation in Ottawa, Canada, one November. There was a deeply inspiring worship service every morning and then a Vespers service in the evening. Those were often more quiet and reflective. I was thrilled to see that one of the Vespers services was being led by Greg Ward, a minister who had developed a way of doing multi-generational services that involved the telling of a story, and other elements of the service are woven through the tale. So I made sure that my friends and I got back from dinner in time to attend Greg's service. We walked into the hall and everyone was singing, "O Come All Ye Faithful." My jaw dropped. I immediately became as cranky as the old camel Hushmakatu. No, I said to myself, it's only the middle of November. It's too soon for Christmas. I don't want to hear a silly Christmas story tonight. I sat there with my arms crossed and a scowl on my face. I'm sure we all get cranky sometimes, especially at this time of year. So I'm going to ask Linda to switch to gallery view, and I want everyone to show me their most cranky expression. Can I get cranky from everyone? Scowling. Let's all scowl. Let's get it out of our systems. Let's be cranky and scowling. Especially at this time of year, that can happen to us. So I sat in a chair and sulked while the story began. I rolled my eyes when we were invited to stand and sing another Christmas carol whose words I didn't quite agree with. Then lo and behold, the magical story of Hushmakatu, the reluctant and cynical camel, started to poke its way into me. I found myself sitting up and listening, and then getting fully engaged into yet another Christmas story about the meaning of Christmas. Despite my misgivings, there I was, standing and singing the old carols with gusto. My eyes welled up with tears as the story came to a close. Once again, Christmas had gotten to me. The miracle and the blessings of this season had overtaken my doom and gloom, and I was able to surrender to the way in which enchanting and inspiring stories can change us, can soften our hard, worn shells, and open us up to the wonder and magic that is present all around us. When I let myself experience the stories and songs of this holiday season, it always brings me back to the wonder I felt as a child at Christmas. It was a magical time of year with lights and presents and Santa Claus and gifts and the miracle of Jesus' birth. The stories of a giant star in the sky, and these three kings or princes or wise men making this unusual journey to Bethlehem filled me with awe. The large gathering of my extended family were always as much fun, and the piles of food that everyone brought were delicious. Luckily, the holidays of my childhood were magical for the most part. I know I was lucky in that because that's not the same for everyone. Yet, perhaps, for all of us, there is some of the magic and wonder that we can turn to at this time of year. In the poem Star Silver, Carl Sandburg writes, "The silver of one star plays cross lights against the pine green, and the play of this silver crosswise against the green is an old story, thousands of years." The vagabond mother of Christ, he continues, and the vagabond men of wisdom, all in a barn on a winter night, and a baby there in swaddling clothes on hay. Why does this story never wear out? Well, why does this story never wear out? Maybe it's because our hearts and souls, our very beings, need stories like this to give us sustenance and meaning and hope. We want to experience miracle and wonder and the goodness that exists in the human spirit, don't we? We want to believe in the possibility of the holy, of some kind of grace that touches our hearts and dwells within us. We want to believe that we can become better people. Hushmakatu, our cranky camel, hears the call of the wind throughout the story, calling him and guiding him on. I'm not sure if the writers of this story knew this, but in the Greek, the word for wind and spirit are the same word. The call of the wind, the call of the spirit, the call of our spirits is all around us. We only have to take the time to listen. That call will lead us tonight and always to a place of peace, a place of self-discovery, place of wonder, and the knowing that, like any child born this night, we are all an essential part of this great miracle of life. Merry Christmas, amen, and blessed be. So now is the moment where I invite everyone, if you have a candle, to light a candle and maybe to turn off the lights in your house. As we get ready to sing Silent Night. I have a candle lit.
Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, child of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Please leave your candles lit through the benediction. Our benediction is called the Moment of Magic by the Reverend Victoria Safford. Now is the moment of magic, when the whole round earth turns again toward the sun. And here is a blessing. The days will be longer and brighter now, even before the winter settles in to chill us. Now is the moment of magic, when people beaten down and broken with nothing left but misery and candles and their own clear voices kindle tiny lights and whisper secret music. And here is a blessing. The dark universe is suddenly illuminated by the lights of the menorah, suddenly ablaze with the lights of the Kinara, and the whole world is glad and loud with winter singing. Now is the moment of magic, when an eastern star beckons the ignorant toward an unknown goal. And here's a blessing. They find nothing in the end but an ordinary baby born at midnight, born in poverty. And the baby's cry, like bells ringing, makes people wonder as they wander through their lives what human love might really look like, sound like, feel like. Now is the moment of magic, and here's a blessing. We already possess the gifts we need, and we've already received our presents. Ears to hear music, eyes to behold lights, hands to build true peace on earth, and to hold each other tight in love. I invite us all now to take a moment and think of our prayer for Christmas, our prayer for this season of light and the changing of the sun and the lights of every tradition. For the perseverance, for this road that we travel, for the joy of this season, for the promise of a new day. If we could raise our candles a bit, and then on the count of 3, we will blow them out together. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for being here. We will now have our closing musical selection.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why your joyous strains prolong? What the gladsome tidings be, which inspire your heavenly songs? Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Come to Bethlehem and see him whose birth the angels sing. Come adore on bended knee Christ the Lord, the newborn King. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
That concludes our Christmas Eve service. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to Sandy and all the singers who put those programs together, to Patricia for being our worship associate, Deb Keller-Wood, our wonderful director of spiritual development, for doing the story with me, and to Linda and Paul for all of their assistance doing the tech work. Have a blessed Christmas, everyone. Good night.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yay.
Merry Christmas.